Moving on to the final theoretical part of this course, here are 10 principles of user interface. Just like how design principles exist in fields like logo design, photography, etc., it is very advised to consider in our prototypes. When looking at our first unofficial draft of a project, it would be good to have the principles as a checklist to ensure that your design is guaranteed to be successful. The first principle is simplicity. You should try your best to keep your interface as straightforward as possible. Let's take a look at Facebook's layout, for example. Its identity is clearly shown, all while demonstrating to its users what they need so easily and directly. So up here we can see the logo and some of its visual language, which is very straightforward and simple. And meanwhile, we are able to see other people's interactive actions, such as their posts. We're not overwhelmed with content, but at the same time, we're able to distinguish the difference between the company itself and its users. The second UI principle is support. You do that by providing users with a variety of ways to complete a task and allowing them to divide the work into subtasks or personalizing their approaches towards their audience. For example, again, Facebook would communicate directly and ask you what's on your mind with your name at the end of the sentence when you're about to post a status, for example. So, first of all, when you press on the tab where you would be creating a post, you will instantly get a window or a new page that asks you what's on your mind with a lot of different options, and you can go on with it by simply pressing on post. Additionally, another application or website that provides constant support that I would like to mention is LinkedIn. As you're creating a profile and you go through with the steps of profile creation, they support you by maybe gamifying your process into going from a beginner's profile into an intermediate's profile. In addition, one of the most important principles, in my opinion at least, is familiarity. With familiarity, we are supposed to build on users' knowledge of previous applications. A good example of that can be how icons are, because the symbols used are usually everyday objects or visuals that are associated with their functions. Usually we're able to distinguish that this interface here is Facebook's, and everything around the page is placed in a way very carefully that we would know where we would find it. We all know that with these icons, for example, we have the home icon, the videos icon, the groups icon, the notifications icon, and the general personal feed icon, where everything is placed. And as we press on it, we can tell that Facebook is laying it out in a prioritized way. So more people are more likely to look at their pages, their friends, and so on and so forth, as well as having easy access to maybe switch between accounts and anything close to that. Similarly though, another principle is clarity. The difference between familiarity and clarity is the fact that clarity is more focused on how clearly does an icon indicate its function, or how well does a subtitle explain what a button does. Meanwhile, in familiarity, it is more known, for example, that the newsfeed button would be placed on the top of a website, maybe Facebook, for example, or the bottom or the side of an application. As we can see in this LinkedIn example here, we're able to distinguish that a home icon is a house with its subtitle indicating it, as well as network would have maybe two figures that shows more than one person with obviously another subtitle. Post would be a plus sign because we're adding onto our account. Notifications are known to be bells, and jobs would have maybe a suitcase that typically indicates jobs. In this case, I am explaining the clarity aspects of it, but when I say that this bar is placed at the bottom, Now we're looking at familiarity because we are all used to seeing these options at the bottom of our screen. The next principle is encouragement, where you're supposed to make the actions predictable and reversible. This could be done by ensuring that if a user presses on an icon and leaves the news feed, they would be able to find that icon again and use it later on. So, for example, here again, if I leave the home button, the home tab, and I move to network, I still have the home button very close to me and very reachable, which encourages me to go back to it when I'm done with my network. If the button tends to disappear, I would be less likely to go back home and look at other pages. Moving on to another principle, which is satisfaction. You want to ensure that the user is going to be using your product with a satisfactory end result that helps them keep coming back for more. In social media platforms like Facebook and Instagram, for example, the likes, comments, and shares feature encourages a significant number of their users to keep coming back for more, or to keep checking their application, and so on and so forth. Additionally, on LinkedIn, setting up a profile and completing it, like I mentioned earlier, would show you how professional your account is. It will probably get you to fill out all your information in order to have a professional account. I also think that satisfaction leads to the most persuasive applications with a majorly successful number of users. They keep coming back for more, knowing that they are successfully completing something that they are desiring to do. Next, we have accessibility, where users should be able to access any feature they need. This does not mean that all features need to be free, but more of the idea that if someone old is using the application, for example, they will probably need more direct accessibility to the text layout option because they would struggle to go through a couple of pages in order to find the option of resizing their font. Another way to explain it is also how we would have, when we open our Facebook feed on our phone, on our computer, we can see all of the features that we're able to use within the page. So we have the Friends tab, the Pages tab, the Groups tab, and we can go on with it very easily, and we have very easy access to whichever thing we are desiring to reach to. In addition, we have the safety principle. For this concept, we must be aware that we are all humans who make mistakes. In order to help the users feel safe, confirmation messages, for example, can be crucial. By asking the user if they are sure they want to proceed doing something, maybe performing an action and so on, you're helping with keeping them out of trouble and protecting them when they make errors. Another extremely useful option would be the edit button. This example is very clearly shown on Facebook, which is very easily accessible. So after you send a post and maybe you've noticed you made a typo, or you want to add more to it, or maybe remove something from it, you can easily access it by editing the post. And if you've changed your mind about the whole thing, you can very simply move it to the trash and delete it. And they made it less permanent when you delete a post by moving it to trash, so that maybe if you changed your mind and you want to bring back the post, you can access your trash and bring it back. In this way, the user is able to access any feature that they need and fix any mistake that they have created and maybe want to go back from it. Another principle is versatility, in which the user interface should have a variety of interaction techniques, such as having menus, dialog boxes, shortcuts, and so on. In this way, not only would a user be able to have numerous options regarding their preferred way of working with the product, but it would also help with broadening your target audience. So let's say I'm a 45-year-old mother who is going through Facebook on her web page. I am more likely to access pages, for example, through this tab over here because I'm looking at the icon, I'm reading it very clearly, and I'm understanding that this is the pages section. Meanwhile, someone else who has more experience with Facebook would be able to very quickly move from their newsfeed to pages by clicking on the icon instantly. This kind of flexibility and variety helps with targeting different people at the same time and making it very flexibly usable for any age-targeted audience. And finally, we have the personalization principle, where you allow your users to customize some features of the interface to their liking. For example, maybe you would have your profile be private or public on Facebook, or one strong example that I like about Instagram is the sensitive content control, where you're able to control how much sensitive content you would like to see in your feed and your stories, and so on and so forth. Now, I would like to move on by showing you guys maybe one example of what an outcome of a project off of Figma would look like. I will get into that by showing you a brief project that I have worked on before and show you a general layout of my projects. So initially you would be starting with a page that helps you with going through your scenarios, and then from there you would be working on your concept very slowly, and your end result would be played in this way. So we have the window that helps us test our product and see whether it's going well or not. The template shows very clearly the product that you've created the application or website or blog or so on and so forth for. In this case, I chose an iPhone, and then I would go on with the scenario that I want. And here I'm demonstrating for you guys how it would look like after the creation of a project of mine, and see how things would go on as you have created your own prototype. And after you're done with the creation of your prototype, you have very easy access to how you want it to look like, and you can test it as freely as you can in case you think something's too small, something's too big, and so on and so forth, so that you can fix it before sending it to your fellow front and back end web designers. So we have the design features, which we will be talking about, as well as the prototyping feature, which connects everything to each other. And we will be discussing other features such as inspection later on in the course. And that would be it. If you're as excited as me in starting with the practical stuff, let's get right into it.